Hi everyone, this is Alex Rojas with Brand New Congress again, just checking in for our 30-minute live stream Q&A that we do every weekend. Just giving you a heads up that my camera's a little weird, so sorry if it ends up getting a little bit blurry. But I'm here, like we usually are, to answer any questions that you have about Brand New Congress as an organization, what's up with our candidate hunt, and things like that. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to comment them below. I'll be here for the next 30 minutes, so I'll have to hop off at around 12:30. But until then, like I said, I'll be here. So kind of like what I did before, I just want to really quickly thank everyone that is tuning in, as well as who's been helping us out since the very beginning, or maybe even just found out about us and are continuing to spread the word about Brand New Congress. It's always humbling for us to be able to see this sort of organic growth out of this, crazy election cycle. Yeah, thanks again. So it looks like right now we don't have any comments. Like I said, please comment below any questions that you have. I'm gonna try and keep up with them as I go. But until then, I'll sort of talk a little bit about what our process is, sort of like an update, where we're at, and where we're going. So like many of you guys probably know and have heard the stump speech before, we started back out in April. And really tried to sort of answer the question, what comes next? Not necessarily even for the movement, but in terms of gaining and, accumulating political power to actually be able to solve and go after some of the greatest challenges of our time. Through that, we sort of assessed the lay of the land on how we would actually get there. And, like many of you probably already know, Congress is one of the most powerful, political structures within our government. So we created a laser-focused goal at the 2018 midterm elections to hopefully elect a brand new Congress of 2018. So hopefully, we had a post a little bit earlier talking about, keep calm and vote out all the bums. We want to vote out as many as we possibly can for the 2016 races, but obviously for 2018, Brand New Congress is looking at creating that whole new slate. And so we're in the midst of this candidate nomination sort of search and hunt, and the only way that we're going to be successful through that is by calling upon you guys, our supporters, and every American to rack their brains for these people that are sort of extraordinary, ordinary Americans. So I want to get into that a little bit. So we sort of announced that phase of the nomination process a few months ago, and since then we've had over 1,600 people submit nomination ideas, and us at Brand New Congress, along with the working group at Brand New Congress, is going through that list and making sure that we're following up on all the potential leads that we have, all of the people that could be potential candidates, matching our general criteria, as well as some specific district information. So we're really doing our best to sort of go through that list. And along the way, you guys have provided tremendous amounts of feedback when it comes to, things at a local level. Those things, we can do all the sort of research we want to when it comes to demographic information, incumbent vulnerability, ballot access research, all of that stuff we can find online. But the important pieces of information that we've been able to gather, like district specific, especially when it comes down to looking at those demographics, is really important. So if you guys haven't already, go to brandnewcongress.org/nominate, or click on the link that is in the post above. It's bnc.run/nominate. It'll actually take you to our page on our website. It's going to have built out Wiki Pages for every single congressional district. So we've updated it a little bit. Some of you guys have updated it a little bit too, so definitely check that out. right now we're still having all congressional districts open. There's obviously some people that we can think of. I know for me, folks like Keith Ellison or Bernie Sanders, right? We're not planning on challenging folks like them that already sort of adopt the brand new Congress agenda and plan, but it's important that we sort of don't limit ourselves. And so all nominations are much appreciated, and I'm about to go through just some of the general criteria that we list, and then some of the nuances that we often forget when thinking about candidates. So like brand new Congress, we're running this national unified campaign, but a huge part of that is actually finding those 400 plus representatives to sign on to this national unified campaign. And the way that we're going about it is through this nomination process, and they have to meet a set of general criteria and nuances. So one of the first things that we look for are people that are respected non-politicians. They actually have experience building their communities and actually serving them. So it doesn't even have to just be your local community. We're actually looking for people maybe in progressive organizations or industries or sectors of our society that in whatever field that they work in, the people that they work with on a daily basis can attest to the non-dogmatic, optimistic approach they have to helping and serving their communities by putting them first. And so that sort of leads into the second criteria, is that you can't be super cynical. As someone entering politics with the political climate right now, it's really easy to sort of fall into that. But we are looking for people that are sort of non-dogmatic, optimistic people that really want to see the American people come together and really rebuild the country, and have faith that we can actually do that united, as surprising as that sounds, with the state of the presidential election. And then the third is basically that they have to have the skills to be a good candidate or congressperson. It's not enough to obviously want to run. It's a free country. Anybody can run. But we are sort of going about this in the way that we're sort of hacking the system. So we're using the path that it takes to get there, and that does require someone to be able to not necessarily be great in front of the television. We know that that some of our congressmen and women aren't that good, but basically being able to speak your mind authentically and be able to sort of hold a room if you were in front of the debate, if you were on television sort of talking about your race, whatever the case it is. You have to sort of have good skills to be able to speak to people and relate to their constituents. So, oh, sorry, I lost connection really briefly, so let me get back on track. Sorry about that. So I haven't gotten any questions yet. I'm going to keep talking. I know that probably sounds like I'm rambling, but I got to get used to doing this. So some of the other general nuances that we have when looking for some of our candidates, right, is we're looking at all of the districts. So every single district in the United States. We know that there's 33 Senate seats up. We know that there's 435 House of Rep seats up. And, we have this set of criteria, but it sort of is a guiding principle. It's going to be very impossible, right, to look at someone and be able to tell right away that they have integrity, they have experience building and serving their communities, or they're optimistic in all of these things. And so that's this is like a guiding principle, but some of the other things that we really want to see, right, as a brand new Congress that actually represents African Americans, Native Americans, Asian Americans, Latinos, all these marginalized and underrepresented groups, that have for a historically long time have been underrepresented. We really want to do our best to sort of go back and rectify some of the mistakes that we've had in history, and when we're looking at our slate as a whole, be able to really say that this is a brand new Congress that represents, working and middle class people, people of color, people from all parties right now, right? Democrat, Republican, Independent, and be able to say that we're sort of above political affiliation, we're above the things that both the establishments love to put out in front of us to divide us, and we're going to come together and solve the biggest problems of our time. So that means that when we're looking at that whole slate, that's really, really important to us. So when you're thinking about nominating folks, definitely nominate them based on our criteria, based on the constituents that make up that particular congressional district, but also keep in mind that it's really important for us to be able to find those people that normally wouldn't think of themselves as running for Congress, and nominate them. The other side of that is that I didn't really get to mention if we're going to talk about demographics, is if you look at the makeup of Congress right now in comparison to what the United States looks like, there's still a lot of work to be done, and a lot of that has to do with a Congress that is overwhelmingly white male. It would be absolutely incredible if our slate was more than half women. So that's sort of another nuance to what we're trying to do. In red districts, we really do, as crazy as it sounds, we do want to find people that in their past were either Republican or are still Republican, but hold the progressive values that we all share. I know that many of you, I know I did when I worked on the Bernie campaign, saw a lot of people that typically wouldn't I vote for a Democratic candidate, but switched out of the Republican Party or independent parties to be able to. And so we're hoping that we can do the same thing, right? Because, like I mentioned, we're running in all three parties and having folks sign on to this unified platform. So we're actually counting on people to really focus on the issues. And as cheesy as it sounds, unite as opposed to divide based on these narrow-minded conversations that we always have. I see John, thank you so much. Thanks you for commenting and all you're doing. I feel like I'm rambling, but it's definitely worth it, at least to, if anything pops up in your mind, definitely ask any questions that come about. Marcus Lewis says, I am glad to hear all CD are being in play for brand new Congress. Smart move. Yeah, and to speak to that a little bit, we recently have updated some of our wiki pages from a lot of feedback that you guys have given us, or people have given through our emails, through Facebook messages, through comments or live Q&As like these, to really sort of look and assess what we're putting on our wiki pages. So we recently made an update and decided that instead of sort of putting a, sort of, for example, like the Progressive Caucus, we had folks that were previously, we were sort of thinking about, do we run against folks like that, do we not? And so that's up in the air right now, right? We're just looking at all of the congressional districts and really asking for everyone to submit nominees no matter what, so that we can see all of the potential candidates that we have, as opposed to just, sort of putting a yes or no answer on it right now. So just to reiterate again, you can nominate anyone in whatever congressional district. We still want to see them. Just make sure that you're at brandnewcongress.org/nominate to make sure that when you're submitting them, that they actually do meet the criteria. You're actually looking at the district demographic information. You're looking at the incumbent. You're Googling, you're researching, just to be sure that this person really does have a chance at winning in their particular district. That's really important, that when you're thinking about submitting people, that you really are thinking of this person as a potential United States congressperson. So that's sort of some background there. We also sort of ask ourselves some of these questions. I'm on the computer like all day. Or if I'm not on the computer, I'm on the phone talking with these potential candidates or nominators or potential leads to potential candidates. And I'm constantly sort of talking about the same thing that I am right now, which is candidate nominations and sort of what frame of mind do we have to put ourselves in to really be able to mind the type and yield the type of candidates that we want. So I know I keep saying the same lines over, but it's because it's really important that we hammer this in. So, brand new Congress, when we think of our slate, we really do want people who do the work of our society. So if we imagine that we sort of put all of our brains together and sought to solve the biggest challenges of our time, who would we ask, right? What sectors, disciplines, perspectives would we seek out if we were really going to do this? It sounds really ridiculous, but we know that our current Congress people are not doing anything. Like, literally, they're not doing anything. So if we actually had people from all aspects of society come together and put that, our problems before our, own self-interest, who would we ask and who would we seek out? Maybe a better way to rephrase that is what makes up the anatomy, the engines of our society, whose hands are on the actual work that takes place to be able to solve all these problems. I think about, we've seen a couple articles come out about the high cost of premiums for Obamacare. And, imagine if we actually had 10% or even 15% of our Congress, as they were making those decisions, actually come from the healthcare industry, or at least had a background in the healthcare industry. I'm sure our outcomes would have been a lot better. So for some examples of sort of what I'm talking about, and some that we've already mentioned, right, are teachers, professors, any type of educator, like I mentioned, healthcare workers, hospital administrators, but it's also those maybe things that we don't often think about, right? Insurance companies right now are sort of, in the progressive movement sometimes cast in a really negative light, and I don't want to refute that, but there's also some really good, local insurance companies and the administrators of those that might have that insight that's needed. There's also accountants and small business owners, the people that make up communities at such a local level. Maybe people who work in renewables, but maybe also those that work in oil that acknowledge that there's an inevitable future in green energy that's within our lifetime and so close. Or civil engineers that really do understand what it takes to build from the ground up. And there's so many other experts, but when we step back and we find our entire slate, we should be able to really look back and see that our 400 plus potential elective representatives are not only diverse in ethnicity, like I had mentioned before, but they're diverse in the perspectives and the backgrounds that they bring to the table. And so together, we hope that they're going to embody a wide and beautiful range of perspectives. Connie has a question. Hi Alex, can you give more info on the types of training BNC will help candidates with? That's a great question. So Brand New Congress is fully intending on providing the training that is necessary for people to actually sort of take a step back from their everyday lives right now and be able to adequately serve their constituents. So in terms of the specifics on what that training looks like, when that training will begin, all of that stuff, that's probably going to be more 2017 after March. So we've goaled ourselves at announcing our slate of candidates around March of 2017, or at least our first 100. And so by then, that's also when we'll sort of announce our training mechanisms. But for right now, those conversations of how we're going to train candidates, how does how are we going to go about it? Those things will sort of introduce as they're needed. So I don't have specifics as to what agendas or websites or whatever on how they're going to be trained, but we do plan on training them obviously for things like debates and understanding the legislation that we hope to produce, understanding the BNC plan, being able to do things like ballot access and all of that. The reason why we're sort of doing a national unified campaign is because we're going to hopefully take care of a lot of that for them with the staff and the volunteers that we have with Brand New Congress. So we're putting a lot of that stuff together right now to make sure that our candidates can sort of walk in and make, and not have to do that much. The only thing that we really are going to have to make sure that our candidates understand, and I think they will, right, going through all of this criteria, is that, we don't want them on the phone dialing for dollars. We don't want them, out there schmoozing with lobbyists or all these different places where they could get money. We need them with their constituents, talking to them, and being with them because we're funded by small dollar donors. So I don't know if that helps answer your question, but that's sort of the way we have it right now. And just to jump back to our goal of March of 2017, to announce our slate of candidates. Like I said, that's a goal. And the reason that is because we're sort of auditing the United States for one of the first times ever, I think, to really find these candidates. And we're doing a lot of work reaching out to different groups, making sure that we're following up on the feedback that you guys have to make sure that we're not, acting foolishly and thinking that we can just do it all ourselves, because we know that there's a lot of great groups out there. There's a lot of great people out there that have been doing this work for quite some time, and so we're doing our best to make sure that we are following up on all of that and covering all of the bases, especially with our plan and sort of the way that we go about finding underrepresented support in various communities across the United States. Matthew has a question. Has anyone ever looked at the employment histories of the professional congressional staffers? They are the people who I read their bosses around. Do these people get paid back later or cuss jobs with Wall Street? Oh, no need to. I see what you're saying. I guess just to address it really quickly, I haven't looked at every single, or maybe I have, but I can't recall it, the employment history of every single professional congressional staffer and congressperson. But yeah, they have entire staffs that help, carry out the administrative procedures of being a United States congressman. So one of the questions that we often get is, why are you looking at, ordinary people? All the things that I just mentioned where I was talking about going, who would we seek out to solve these problems? That's a pretty crazy idea. Not crazy in the sense of it being bad, but it's sort of definitely unconventional when you think of the way that politics exists today. We're really asking for ordinary people to step up. We are looking for people that do seek out, to be in politics, and I don't think it'll take that much convincing on their part to jump on board with this. But what will take convincing are people that aren't even focused on the what we're talking about right now. They're those teachers that are so dedicated to their students and wondering if that child is gonna come to school tomorrow hungry, and if they're hungry, maybe I should bring in food, or that nurse that's in the hospital that takes care of an older patient every day, and that's their frame of reference. That's all they care about, is really helping the people that they serve. And so those types of people that we do at the end of the day, I think, want representing us because they're just like us, right? They're the best of us. It's going to take some time to actually get them to sign on to something like this. So we are sort of dedicated to building a slate of people that actually represent the American people through and through. And you don't need a lot of experience, I think, legislatively to do that. You know, if you look at congressional staff, like you just mentioned, they often, you know, they have paid, or Congress people, they have paid staff that help them from scheduling things to fundraising all the way to the actual legislative piece. So it is really vital, I think, for people to be able to be rehearsed in the law, but to say that maybe that's all the experience that they need. We don't think that that's as important as having experience building and serving your communities and proving that you know, you represent the people. Matthew again, how many times do you hear that a congressperson has not even read the bill they are voting on? I would agree, yeah. And so brand new Congress, I guess to answer your question more directly, Matthew, is definitely going to be training and providing that support all the way through they decide to join our campaign and beyond, right? Because we know that, you know, as much as we criticize our elected officials, it's really hard to be one. And so we respect anyone that's willing to do that. And we also know that it's only a whole new can of worms that opens once you actually get to DC. So we're going to have to be providing a lot of that support once our candidates actually you know, make it through. If you guys give us 400 plus representatives in 2018, we're going to have to hire lots of staff to be able to help out with that. So Simon, and then I'm gonna answer his question, but it's 12:29, and then I have to hop off. What about recruiting staffers that follow BNC principles? Absolutely. You kind of have to. You have to be signed on to BNC and even to really be a part of it, right? Because we're branching outside of the typical American political system and looking at our organization as a post-party solution. So it's not bipartisan, it's not nonpartisan, it's not whatever. We're post-party, and so everyone is going to have to sort of be okay with that. They're going to have to be okay with the BNC plan, and they're going to have to be okay with sort of the foundational principles that we've come together to really try and accomplish. So to answer that. Thank you. Yeah, I'll go back in and double check the link that I put there. But just to reiterate, you can go to brandnewcongress.org/nominate, or you can go to the short link for that is bnc.run/nominate. But either way, if you go to brandnewcongress.org, sign up, all of that stuff. We try to re-engage you guys every so often. So we know that it's over. I know that we have 9 more days until this crazy election is over. I just want to put out there that you guys should really be paying attention to what comes after, and I know that you guys are. And there's so many things happening right now that need attention, and I think building this national unified campaign and movement is definitely one of those things that should be at the forefront of your mind. So as soon as you're done and have a lot of energy sort of after this crazy election cycle, definitely make your way over to brandnewcongress.org and you know, get down to helping us with this candidate search. We're, like I said, we're keeping our nominations open until we announce our slate of candidates, and nominations are open, so please help out. This is kind of random and I'm going over, but someone just messaged me about it. Don't forget that today is an international vigil for, you know, all of the water protectors out on the front lines out in Standing Rock. So please be sure to, you know, check out a local vigil or just take some time to pray for the people that are protecting millions of people and their water supplies. So I'm sorry if I missed any questions. It was kind of weird. It didn't let me really scroll through that much, but Again, thank you so much for all of your support and for listening to all my rambling. We'll be back next weekend and we'll try to give you more of a heads up next time. But thank you so much, and talk to you soon. Bye, guys.